Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about how it is that I became an astrologer. This is going to be, I'm going to try to speed it up. This is going to be a story time. If you absolutely hate story times and you literally do not want to hear about a really funny college story that I have, then just don't even watch this video. But if you do like story times and you have like 15-20 minutes to kill, this is the video for you. So first, I just want to say that I never would have imagined that I would actually become an astrologer, even though I liked astrology since I was a little girl. I grew up watching Walter Mercado on TV. I'm Mexican, Mexican-American, and in Mexican culture, Walter Mercado and astrology is pretty much like commonplace. So this was not anything very weird, but no one just like knew an astrologer, right? So I never could have imagined the possibility that I could actually become an astrologer one day. Not only that, but I do have my sun in the 12th house. And in case you didn't know, having your sun in the 12th house means that it could take you quite a bit of time to figure out what it is that you're good at, what it is that you shine at, because your sun really represents the thing that should be sort of your pride and joy, because the sun represents, you know, the center of all the planets. It is the ruler. It is, you know, the highest planet basically. And because of that, it represents that part of you that really wants to shine, that others kind of see in you, and you're kind of proud of that, right? But when you have your sun in the 12th house, the 12th house is kind of like the least shiny place of all of the houses. Like, it really makes me think of when somebody tells you, like, go stick it where the sun don't shine. I'm like, where does the sun not shine? In the 12th house. The sun does not shine in the 12th house. The sun is in a very, like, nebulous, it makes me think of that word in Spanish, tinieblas. It's a nebulous place. It's kind of dark, and it can get dingy in there. It can get very heavy. So when you have your sun in the 12th house, or if you're a Pisces sun, sometimes it could be difficult to really figure out what it is that you're good at, what it is that you're proud of. And even though, like, don't get me wrong, I'm a fire sun, I'm a Sagittarius, my birthday was yesterday, happy solar return to me. So even though I was very confident, it was very strange. Like, only I could, you know, as it is with a fire sun in the 12th house, you're confident, but you're only confident in certain circles where you feel comfortable, and then you could really shine and be your fiery sun self, right? So I loved astrology, but I never could have imagined that this would be my path. So let me first start by explaining what I studied. So I went to school, I loved English, and what I wanted to do was be a writer, right? But everybody pretty much, when you go to school to study English, to study writing, grammar, all of that, your professors pretty much tell you you're going to be a teacher. And I didn't really want to be a teacher, not because I'm against teaching. I like teaching. I love it. Obviously, that's why I make all these educational videos. But the thing is that I never saw myself like conducting a classroom of children, because I don't like to tell people what to do. So I never saw that for me. But nonetheless, like, I graduated. I got a master's in English because I loved it that much. Like, I was really good at writing. I basically spent all my time studying literary analysis and learning how to decipher symbols. You know, like those memes about like the English teacher is like, what did the red bird represent? And we could write like a 10-page paper talking about the red bird. Well, that would have been me. That's what I learned to do in school, right? And I was so good at it just naturally. And I'm going to tell you a brief story about that, because I really, this is one of my proudest moments. So when I was a freshman in college, I was taking an art appreciation course. And I love art. I love appreciating art. I am not much of a creator myself, but I love art, right? So I was taking this class, and we were going to take an exam that was really going to be an analysis of a piece of art. But we hadn't really been taught on how to do it. It was kind of like, I think it was our first exam. And although we've talked about, by that point, we've talked about the different elements of art and all of that, the teacher hadn't really shown us how to do an analysis of an art piece, right? So she said to us, she said, you can bring a note card, one of those big note cards, and fill it up with notes from the class, right? Put your notes on there, put notes from the book. And she showed us the work of art that she wanted us to discuss. She was like, you could even do research online and bring your note card, and you know, you can take the exam. That's how much she wanted us to do well, right? So I show up. my mom was giving me a ride. I didn't even have a car back then. I'm a little bit late because of my mom. I'm a little bit late. I get there and I remember that I don't have the note card. And I'm at the door, right? And it's locked. And the teacher just gives me a look. And I'm like, you know, I tell her like, I'm sorry, like, can I come in? And she was like, where's your note card? And I was like, I don't have a note card. And then she's like, you're going to fail the exam. And I was like, no, I won't fail the exam. It's okay. Don't worry. And she was like, you need a note card. Like, I won't even let you in without a note card. But I didn't have a note card and neither did she. But what I did have was I always loved to keep notes and I had a little tiny post-it. And I don't know if you guys know the kind of post-it, not like the standard post-it size, but like the really small size. And she was like, what are you going to do with that? And I was just like, don't worry, I'm going to write a little outline on there and it'll be just fine. And she was like, there's no way that you're going to pass. So I'm going to put up a picture. If I find the essay, I'll show it to you. But I'm going to put a picture of the work of art, right? So as soon as I saw that work of art, this is how my mind works. My mind works in symbols because I have my Mercury in the 12th house. The 12th house is a very symbolic, non-linear, non-specific sort of place. So if you have planets there, especially if you have your Mercury there, the way that you think and concoct things is from a very global sort of symbolic way, right? So as soon as I saw this work of art, I knew exactly what I was going to write. I saw it for like 30 seconds and I was like, okay, I know what I'll write tomorrow because she showed it to us the day before. So I looked at it, I knew what I was going to write, I show up late, she's so upset, she's like, there's no way you're going to pass. Well, the day comes, we take the exam, I walk in, I write a really great essay. I'll never forget the dress that Marie Antoinette is wearing because it's a picture of Marie Antoinette and her kids. It really reminded me of a red velvet cake. So I discussed it and I compared it to a red velvet cake and I talked about the richness and I talked about the symbolism of femininity and the womb and I talked about all of these things. The teacher was so touched by my essay that she stood me up in front of everybody and was like, this is what I hoped that people had written and I don't know what I did wrong, that you guys didn't prepare. I gave you everything. I thought I gave you everything. And I was really happy. That's one of my proudest moments, not because she singled me out or anything, but because I really feel that I'm good at writing, especially essays. I could write an essay that'll make you cry, right? But, writing is not one of those careers that it's just like, oh yeah, I'm a writer now, here's my paycheck. Like, that's not how it works. So I really couldn't find my way and I really didn't end up doing much for a few years. I was just in school and moping around. And so I was super depressed because I didn't have a purpose and I was already 28, 29 years old. Right? So my friend was like, Denise, maybe you should try teaching. And I was like, no, I've never really wanted to be a teacher. And she was like, Denise, I'm sick of hearing you whine all the time. Go teach. So sure enough, I go teach. They stick me into a 9th grade literature course. I had 90, 92, 93 amazing students. I love them. I was a terrible, awful teacher because I do not know how to direct children. I don't like to tell people what to do. I thought that I was just going to show up and guys, the love of literature, because I love it. I love writing. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to show them. But it turns out that little kids don't care. So that didn't work out very well for me. But what I did learn from that job, because I worked at a very super high level charter school that had all of these standardized tests for the teachers and for the students. It was very, very high level elite shit going on at that school. So what I did learn was that I had the ability to have all this pressure on me and still perform, right? I was still able to keep up because it was around 80 hours a week that I had to work when I was working there. Aside from I had to teach, I had to lesson plan, I had to take all these training. There was a lot going on, right? And when you have your sun in the 12th house, as I said, your confidence really isn't there. So I really didn't have the confidence to believe that really I could work very, very hard at something. So that's what I learned there. And while this is happening, my friends are all doing great things. And one of my friends, Jessie, whom I love, my favorite Aquarius lady in the world, she passed her bar exam and she was celebrating, right? The bar exam is this fancy lawyer test that you have to take to practice law in the state of Texas and all of the states, right? So she passed it and she's having a dinner. And so I'm at the dinner with her and she introduces me as her friend Denise, the astrologer. And I don't know what possessed her to call me an astrologer because at that point I was not an astrologer at all. I was an astrology enthusiast. Basically all you guys who watch my channel, some of you guys are really good at astrology. And I was really good at astrology. I could read your chart here and there. I could read my chart, but I was not an astrologer. I had never studied it like formally before, and I had never like really been tested. So she introduces me as her friend, the astrologer. I'm a Capricorn rising. So I'm surrounded by all these like serious lawyers. And I'm a teacher. That's what I actually am at the time. I'm not an astrologer, but that wasn't fancy enough for Jessie. And because she saw my sun, right? She saw my astrology, my love for astrology. So she just kind of like threw me out there and was like, she's an astrologer. So all these people are like, oh, what does that mean? What do you do? And so they're all asking me questions. And I am like, okay, so I'm reading people's charts, just like willy-nilly, just like, oh yeah, this, that, and the other. And because these people don't know any astrology, they were super impressed by it. And for whatever reason, her like having that faith in me, really seeing in me that maybe I had potential to be an astrologer, or maybe she like really respected that like ability that I had, but she saw that in me. And sometimes when you're a 12th house person, it really takes somebody else seeing you for you to be able to see yourself clearly. And even though that's not a positive trait, it's not a good thing, like years of therapy will help you to do that. Or what happened with me was that right after that event happened, right after Jessie kind of thrust me into she's an astrologer limelight, my solar return was coming. And not only that, but I also was having a solar perfected year. Like the sun was going to be a really important part of my solar return chart, right? So that's how astrology works. Certain planets are more active during certain periods of your life. So right after that happened, I looked for a school. I was like, I'm going to go to school. Like, of course, I'm a Capricorn, so I have to do it the right way. And because I had saved essentially all my salary from being a teacher, I was saving it for one day, like, one day I'm going to think of a business. I'm going to do something, I'm going to start something of my own. So I had all that money and I was like, I'm going to go to like a legit place. So I looked for like the most legit place that I could find. And so I found Kepler, and I've really liked my education at Kepler. I really like their program. I'm getting their diploma. I still have like 2 or 3 classes left, all of them boring ones, no offense. But I really was like, I felt that I needed to be tested, and I needed to do it in a formal sort of way, because that's the kind of person that I am. I'm a very formal sort of person. And now I really see that, I really believe that if you haven't been yelled at by a certain teacher at Kepler, then you really haven't been tested. Or maybe I'm just a masochist or something. Maybe it's the masochist in me, or my Capricorn like respect for authority. But I really, really value that aspect of like my education, in that I go to school, I study something, and I get feedback from somebody with a lot of experience, and I get to try a lot of charts, and they test you in front of everybody. Like, you have to take tests, and if you haven't defended your point with like with a really old teacher yelling at you that you're wrong, and you have to prove that you're right in front of like a group of strangers, then have you really been tested? Like, no, you haven't. That's really what I think at this point. But so I'm studying astrology, and then once I've been studying for a few months, I'm like, I'm going to start posting on YouTube. I finally felt confident enough, and I felt like I knew some shit, right? And really, I start posting, and I'm learning more, and I'm reading more charts. All of this, I'm doing it for free, right? Obviously, because I don't consider myself like adept enough yet. But come February of 2020, I'm driving to Austin, and we're like going on a small trip, and out of nowhere I get this email from a person who wants a chart reading because like, oh, I'm in twin flame I'm in twin flame separation, and I'm just like, I don't know what that is, but like, what is it? What's going on? What do you need? And she wanted a chart reading. And so she sends me $20 on that February 5th, 2020, and I'll post up like the screenshot. That moment when I received those $20, I was so happy. That was the moment that I really felt like I'm really an astrologer now. Because for me, I have like, so maybe it's the fact that I'm an earth bitch, but I really have so much respect for money, because I feel like people take time to go to work. They have to wake up early. They have to brush their teeth. They have to show up. They have to see their stupid boss. And through doing that, someone gives you a paycheck. Whatever you decide to do with that paycheck, that's on you, right? But I really, really respect the fact that somebody like chooses to invest their money in me. So when there's a money exchange with me, I'm going to do my best, right? And so that's like, I respect money. I'm an earth person, right? So I respect money so much. So that moment when I received those $20, I'm going to frame it. I have to frame it. I freaking cried. And in that moment, I was like, I'm an astrologer. Like, I'm really an astrologer now. And I basically, like, I dropped out of school from speech school, and I decided that, like, all I really wanted to do anyway was be an astrologer. Like, my idea had been, I'm gonna go get my degree in speech language pathology, I'll get my master's in science, and I'll have that so people will respect me, and then I'll go and I'll pursue astrology, which is what I really want to do. But, you know, the destiny did not want that to happen. Destiny wanted me to follow my dream earlier on, and I've been super happy ever since. Like, I'm not like super rich or anything. I can pay bills. The sun is betraying me right now. But I just basically, with this video, I just wanted to give you an idea of kind of my path of how it was for me to get here to become an astrologer. And I also really wanted to say thank you to you guys, all of you guys who comment, watch my videos. It means, not only does it mean so much to me, it also, like, this is how I'm able to live that crazy dream that I never could have had. Like, I never would have imagined that I would have gotten to be an astrologer, because first of all, like, who's an astrologer? I had never met anybody who was an astrologer before. And also, like, you guys gave me so much support by watching my videos, and all of the people, like, when you guys watch my videos, it pushes them out into the algorithm, and that's how people find my channel, and that's how I end up doing ratings for people, and that makes me super supremely happy. So I just want to say thank you so much for that, guys. And I really feel that all of your experiences, when you add them up, will help you to be a better astrologer. Let's just say you have experience in the medical field, or let's just say when you were a kid you really loved art, you really loved arts and crafts, whatever it is that you have in your background. I feel that there's a way that you're going to infuse that into your astrological practice. Like me, I'm into writing, I'm into storytelling. I love writing biographies. I love biographical work, is like, makes me so happy. I love seeing somebody and helping them tell their story. And I really feel that that's what I personally do with astrology. I help people see themselves. I tell them their story using astrological terms, and for whatever reason that connects them to a very essential part of who they are. And that is just a very satisfying experience for the person, which is what makes it so satisfying for me, which is why I freaking love being an astrologer. I love interacting with so many people who would have, I'm from a tiny town, guys. I am afraid of planes. I've left the state like 2 or 3 times, right? I leave the country because I live by Mexico and I'm from Mexico. So I've been to Mexico, but that's about it. So the fact that I get to work with people from India, from Pakistan, from London, from all Australia, Canada, from all over the freaking place, who would have thought that? Well, I mean, the 12th house is the house of foreign lands. So, yes, the Indian astrologers would be like, yes, of course, your son's in the 12th house. Of course, you're going to be working with foreigners. So, you know, astrology works in mysterious and magical ways. But I absolutely love what YouTube has been able to do for me, for my business, for my life, and I'm so incredibly grateful.